bearded man here. I've got Brooklyn Lou the Skeptic, the man, the myth, the legend.
Right.
He's from where are you from? Let's see. Is it Minnesota? No, that's not it. I think it might be California. No, it's Brooklyn, right?
You got it. But I don't live in Brooklyn anymore, but that's my where I was born, and I lived in Brooklyn when I was little. So, and yeah. I still got that old Brooklyn accent. So,
all right, yeah. Lou, yeah. And you have the label skeptic, and I kind of just want to ask immediately what you mean by skeptic, because people sometimes have different meanings than the dictionary itself. It says one thing, but we humans do weird things with language. So why that label? What does it mean to you?
Well, I named myself Brooklyn Lou the Skeptic for YouTube because, again, being from Brooklyn originally, and skeptic for me is just somebody who critically analyzes claims and statements and deciphers whether they seem real or not. And I'm fairly skeptical because I'm 62 years old and I've lived a longer life than a young person, and I've seen my share of scams and charlatans and lies and misinformation. So skeptic to me is just analyzing things on a little more critical basis than some other people might.
Did you encounter like street sort of scams in your hometown with the 3-card Monty, things like that, or am I just basing my knowledge on movies?
Yeah, no, I never was into that, but that today in our world, just every day we get bombarded with scams, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
On the cell phone, on the emails, it's like crazy.
Yeah, if I see one more thing with Joe Rogan that isn't Joe Rogan saying that the government is giving out free money, I'm gonna scream, I swear.
The free money scams.
Yeah, sure. Oh, the government's handing out subsidies. No, they're not. Report ad. report. Like it's everywhere. I don't know what's up with that. And then you see Dr. Phil pop up, and he's like, no. I'm like, what? Why? They can deep fake these people, so they do.
Yeah, I think if you're not skeptical in today's America, you're gonna have some problems because there's always some person looking to take you for something.
Yeah, so, take you for a ride.
I think skepticism is a good thing, generally,
And of course, the late great George Carlin warned us or told us about the greatest scam, which he called religion. Did you grow up in a religious household, and if so, what was that like?
Well, I wouldn't call it a religious household when I was young, but I certainly went to the Catholic tradition. My mom and dad were Catholic, so I was brought up baptized Catholic as an infant, went through the communion ritual and confirmation, which is all part of Catholicism. And that was my first introduction into the Christian world, sitting in a little church, Catholic church, with nuns teaching you about God. And from there, I advanced through school, eventually became an evangelical, born again Christian, but my family wasn't overly religious, but my mom and dad believed religion was a good thing, and I think a lot of the older generation, religion, even if you weren't religious, you kind of still said, oh, religion, it teaches kids good morals, keeps them on the straight and narrow, right? And that was my original, but then I got all, became the crazy fundamentalist,
how'd you make the jump from Catholic to Protestant? What happened there?
Well, I started reading Protestant Bible, when I got older growing up, and wrestled with it for years. Not sure if I believed it all, but I kept reading it, and then I started considering these things very serious when I was like between 25 and 28. And then I did the radical leap of faith, I accepted Jesus Christ into my heart, and that was it. And I lived like that for, I'd say, the majority of my life up until about 10, 12 years ago. And then I realized that after studying for about 3 years outside of the Bible, realized that it was all bullshit.
So you studied your way out. I mean, how is that possible? I thought everything was true.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think anybody can study their way out if they're sincere. That's just my opinion. I mean, I think that Christians want to believe something really badly. I mean, I remember back when I became a born-again Christian, definitely was something I really wanted to believe in, I wanted to feel like I had a higher purpose, and, I was safe with God, and, I mean, so I think religion is like a crutch for many people. And it was for me. I remember taking that jump where I was like, oh, I don't know if it's true. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not. And then reaching a point where it was like, I'm going for it. I'm trusting it. I'm going to give it my all, and I'm sticking with the story,
Yeah. I guess that's where the evangelistic, they're just more popular. Is that what kind of attracted you to them, or was it that they were just in your area, or what?
Started going to a Holy Roller church, and going to these meetings that were not really like in the whole church, but behind the scenes. I mean, there was a time I used to drink, and I used to do cocaine, and I was young, this is when I was like 25 to 28 range. And for whatever reason, I didn't feel like fulfilled in my life. Not that, I don't know if most 25 to 28-year-olds feel that fulfilled. I don't know. But I started, going to this meeting, and it was very charismatic, and they would pray, and they'd speak in tongues, and teach the Bible. And it was led by a kind of crazy Holy Roller type preacher guy. And for whatever reason at that time, I found it interesting. But I didn't go to that church. It was just like a Wednesday night special meeting. And then I decided to give my life to Jesus, not in that group, by myself, And then I looked for a church, settled into the Calvary Chapel. And then I really started getting into the Bible, and it was Chuck Smith's ministry. Not sure if you're familiar, but it's a ministry that came out of the hippie movement, and it's really a popular church to this day. And I settled in there for quite a while, and just did a verse by verse Bible study. So then, started telling everybody in my life how Jesus, can set you free and save you, and the whole
the whole Shabbat. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting because you feel it's new and fresh, and I when you're in a group and everyone agrees, and there's some energy there that's palpable. Yeah. What the? No. Phone call. but yeah, I mean, it's understandable how we do that. We want everyone to know because it's so exciting. It's like, oh, did you hear about this? Oh my, it's like everyone's like, yeah, we've heard about it. Okay, you must be new,
Right.
And that's kind of what's cool about the more evangelistic types is even though they've heard about it, they'll be like, yeah. They'll keep the energy going. Whereas like the more stiff like Baptist type is like, yeah, something we have to do, and it's like we go to church but we hate it, kind of.
Yeah. And I found that when you're a new believer and you're in one of these, really fundamentalist type churches and you have some excitement about it, I mean, they just keep heaping more stuff on you, because it's like they could see that you're excited and then they want you to tell everyone else. It's, the multi-level marketing of religion, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, was it a prosperity church?
No.
Okay,
No,
good.
it wasn't one of those deals.
You might have lost a lot of money if it had been.
I still lost a lot of money.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I encountered one of those once in my life, and they did actually pay one of my bills, but then they were very much like, oh, you need to do 10% of whatever you earn to us, and we guarantee you'll get something back. And I'm like, well, how can you make that guarantee? Oh, well, because you submitted on your taxes. I'm like, so you're not giving me money. The government's giving me money. So this is like not really, I mean, yeah, it's a guarantee, but like that, like, it's not like magical,
No.
But they made it seem like it was like miraculous and magical, that it would be it's from God. It's like, no, it's from the government. It's not,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that they did. Yeah.
For me, I when I say I still lost money, it wasn't that the church took money from me.
Right.
It was a matter of, at the time, I gave up a business because I wanted to follow Jesus,
Right. Yeah.
And within maybe a few years, I was broke. I was broke following Jesus.
And I looked at your channel, and you'd done stuff quite some years ago, and then you kind of stopped doing stuff, and then you started doing stuff again. So way back when you first were making content, what got you into making content in the first place with your channel, and then why did you stop?
All right. Well, what I was doing was I just was using my cell phone, just throwing out some thoughts that I was having in the middle of a day. And then my family, I'm going to say someone in my family who is Christian and very close to me was highly insulted by the the stuff I was throwing out there. All right. So they really were hurt by it. Right. They thought it was mocking Christianity, and because I didn't want to make that an issue in my family life, I stopped. And then the election happened. and when Trump got elected, I was like, I just really want to get, a secular message out there, an atheist message, because I felt that, a big part of the reason Trump was elected was because of Christian nationalism and the whole Christian thing. So I had a talk with this very close family member, and I said, I'm just going to throw stuff out there and you're just going to have to ignore, and not take any of this personally. And that was it. So I started, now I had the complete go ahead, and now I'm on fire trying to make content,
Yeah, you talked to somebody that I had interacted with for quite some long, lengthy time. I've had many interactions with him and had to finally give up on him. Otangelo, you had to talk with him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Were very kind. You were very kind and patient with him, far more than I ever was. But you know, I had spent years trying to convince this guy and talk to, you know, being quite argumentative with him. But just, you know, I just had enough. But you know, it's good that, you know, you're able to. Everybody comes to these discussions in different ways, and you have your own method that's different from my method and somebody else's method. And I was like, wow, good on you, man. You did something I couldn't do. So, you know, more power to you, you know.
I'll tell you the truth, deconverted man. I like Otangelo. I think he's a nice guy.
He is an interesting guy.
I think he's a nice gentleman.
Yeah,
but of course, I think he's brainwashed.
very much. I don't know how much he's done that to himself or whatever, but you know, I think I just had too many ongoing interactions with him over time where, you know, you just get to a point where you've had it and you're frustrated and you're kind of done and you have to give up. And that's happened to me over the years, over time, with different people that I, you know, went after and made videos about and even interacted with and talked with, you know. I guess, you know, but other people have more of a friendly approach, conversational approach, where it's like, okay, you have that belief, I understand, but I don't. And hopefully you understand why I don't believe in that. And I can't really do that. I get irritated. So,
you know, I've noticed that over the years, because I've been watching YouTube for a long time. You know, I'm a YouTube junkie before I ever decided to actually do anything on YouTube, you know. And I've noticed some atheists through the years have gotten more aggressive over time. And I think that's because they just realize it's like you're just talking to people who are stubborn as a mule, you know. They just don't want to engage in a real thought process, you know. I think it gets very frustrating. But I try to start every conversation with a Christian as a conversation, you know. I try to start it as, you know, as though I was talking to someone right in my house and trying to be friendly. And, you know, I'll go all the way with that unless they turn, you know, they turn crazy, right?
Yeah, belligerent, right.
And sometimes they do because it's so emotional to them, right? Sometimes they get really angry, you know, and they're only angry because they're facing something and they don't like it, you know?
Yeah. When somebody doesn't share a belief with somebody else, it does something. Some people can deal with it, but some people just can't accept that somebody believes something different than they believe, and there's a conflict that can happen because of that. And it's so interesting that we do that on all sorts of matters, you know, not just the God thing, but all the ideas that are out there, that we just like, just because you don't believe this or you don't agree with that doesn't, you know, automatic, you know, it's like, oh, you're evil or whatever. It's like, no, look, they've got what is their perspective? Why do they have that? You know, we've got to have that discussion so we understand them. Even if we don't agree with them, at least we understand them. And that's something, you know?
Yeah. I try to keep it human. I try to keep it friendly. And, but I'm not scared to, you know, get aggressive with someone when they're getting aggressive with me, you know. But I try to start out on a friendly basis.
Yeah. So you talked about researching the Bible. So what did that look like? What did you look into? What did you find that was out there?
Well, the first thing that I recall was I was kind of a biblical literalist. I mean, not to the word, but definitely conceptually. Like, I believed everything in the Bible was true. Everything was historical, right? And then I started studying evolution, and I realized that there was mountains of evidence, for it. And I realized that it was true. So after that, I couldn't take the book of Genesis creation account seriously anymore. So I tried to move away from that, but still maintain my faith, and think of it as, well, these are stories, but they have a meaning and a purpose. And then the canon, I started studying how the Bible was put together and realized that it was all men who put it together, and there was no God putting it together, So that, and then reading the Bible more critically, all right, instead of taking Christian commentary and saying, well, what does this mean? Oh, let me go to this commentator and they'll explain it to me. But actually reading it for myself and thinking what it really seemed to say. So all that over about 3 years just led me to just realize that what I believed just was not real. It was fake, mythological. It's not true.
I've had people say, well, okay, well, you knocked out that one, but what about all the other ones out there, and have you looked at that? So have you read any other holy books that are out there, or is it just kind of like, well, I'm done now, now what,
Pretty much once I left Christianity, I was done, because I became definitely, I guess, philosophically or intellectually, I guess, a naturalist. I just I don't believe in woo-woo.
Yeah, right.
I don't buy it. So but I read other religious books. I mean, I think I dabbled with the Book of Mormon for a little while. I read very little of the Quran, which was like a different world, because it seemed like not something I could relate to at all. I thought about like a new age type of spirituality, and I just found it all. I mean, my position now is it's pretty much all bullshit,
Yeah. So, but paranormal, supernatural, mystical, whatever you might call it, this spirits or souls or angels, demons, whatever, afterlife, all these things, it's just, are they even possible, do you think? Or is it more like, well, there's no way to know if they're even possible? What would be your stance or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think I mean, I don't believe in any of it, but I separate belief from absolute knowledge. So I wouldn't go as far as to say I know without a shadow of a doubt that nothing, supernatural could ever be. But I do know there's no way that I could ever even observe or examine such a thing to an extent that would satisfy me to think it was real. There's no methodology to do that.
Yeah, we if we had the same amount of evidence for it as we do for anything else, then it wouldn't be a matter of belief. We would just have the data, and that it'd be like, okay, there's a picture on your wall. Yeah, there's a picture on your wall. I mean, it'd be no question about it. So I don't, there seems to be all this hiddenness and shell game of like, oh, you have to look at it in this certain way and keep an open mind. And it's like, why do I have to have an open mind at all? Like, if it's real, my mind doesn't matter. Like, if it's real, it's real, So, it's like, oh, so what open mind tends to mean is you have to be gullible. Okay,
Yeah, so just drift off into imagination.
Right.
But I accept imagination as something that can be good.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
not when determining what's true and not. You know, it doesn't matter what I imagine. That doesn't play a role in what is true or not.
The epistemology is how we decide, or how we should decide, what is or isn't true. So what is that? What is your epistemology, if you can lay that out at all? You know, how do we decide what's true?
Well, epistemology is how we decipher what is true, right? That's the basics of it.
Right.
All right. I never formally studied that stuff. All right. But to me, it's more common sense. You know, I'm a guy with a high school education from New York, you know, and I mean, what is real? What is observable? What does evidence lead you to believe? And evidence, to me, has nothing to do with what somebody believes or the feelings that they have, right? That's not evidence to me. You know, I want to know things that are observable, right, and repeatable, and things that I can count on, that are concrete, you know, and all of that factors into how I decipher what is real. And what I don't decipher what is real anymore based on, you know, well, I thought something. I mean, it's just too weak for me now, you know.
Now, how can we confirm that if it's beyond our expertise? How do we know? Like, how do we trust or find out if we can trust anything out there? Because I mean, people can lie, and people do lie, and there can be wrong. So how do we go about finding out that something is right or wrong if it's beyond us to know that? You know, or do we have any hope to know? Do we have to be skeptical of all of those things? You know, how deep does the rabbit hole go?
Well, I think, you know, the rabbit holes can go pretty deep, right? Down and down and down. But science, you know, the scientific method is big with me. You know, it's not always perfect. I don't believe in perfection. You know, but the scientific method is, I think, the best way for us to go about trying to figure out, you know, what comports with reality. So I'm big on the scientific method because I think it's a system that is proven itself to be solid, you know, but I don't believe in absolutes, you know, like obviously I think science can sometimes get something wrong, you know, but it's self-adjusting, which is the whole point. Whereas religious and dogma and, you know, these things do not adjust. They just insist that they are correct, even if all the evidence suggests otherwise. So I'm done with that. And I have no problem with, I don't know, like that doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I've noticed that some apologists or theists out there seem to really be afraid of I don't know. They absolutely reject it, and they say that's not an answer. You can't say that. You're not you have to propose how the universe came about. If you can't tell me how that works, then I don't want to hear from you. And it's like, you know, it reminded me of like Bill O'Reilly saying, "Oh, the tide comes in, the tide comes out. You can't explain that." It's like, we can explain that actually. And then later he's like, "Well, yeah, of course you can explain it, but you can't explain the thing that explains it." And it's like, okay, and what's your point? So I'm going to go with what I think is true just because you can't explain it. Okay, great. You know, what do you do with that? I don't know, but
I have no problem saying I don't know something, because I'd rather be honest and truthful. And there are things I don't know. Like if Christian asked me, you know, how did all things come into being? I have no problem saying, well, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great mystery. I mean, it's like, what's the fundamental nature of reality? Pi? I don't know. What do you want? 3.14. Lobster. There you go. Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Might as well be. Any answer I can give would be as good as any other answer. And I was like,
yeah. And when they throw God into it, it does nothing whatsoever. So that's the thing. It's like,
yeah, that'd be the ultimate of mystery because you wouldn't know how that worked.
It has no explanatory power whatsoever to tell me, well, how did all things come into being? Well, a God did it.
Magic. Yeah.
Okay.
What
does that do for me?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, time travelers, why not? They came back from the future and they started the universe. Well, how does that? But wait, what? Like, yeah, why not? Let's just, we're all in the simulation. All right, whatever. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Have you ever gotten to the brain in a vat?
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, I have that. I've had that many times. Had that, and I'm like, okay, sure. And well, we might be okay, cool. So what? It doesn't matter because it doesn't seem like I am. So if we were and we don't have proof of it, then there's no reason to think that is true. Just the possibility doesn't mean that it is. And similarly, people will say, well, it's possible. I'm like, well, I don't even know that it's possible. You'd have to demonstrate that it's possible in the first place. How do you do that? And I see, a lot of, well, it can't, this one good, I don't know, friend, associate, I'm not sure what to label people on YouTube as sometimes. Somebody I like that comments often surprised me that he had a belief about something. And he said, it can't be this other thing. And I'm like, well, you're so sure that it can't be that. Why not? Why can't it be that? And it's like, well, it just can't be that. And I'm like, how do you know that? Like, how have you decided that this naturalistic explanation that it can't possibly be that? And to have that sort of certainty, I'm like, wow, I used to have that once, not anymore. I mean, maybe with some things I'm pretty certain about, like, laws of logic or 1 + 1 is 2. I'm pretty sure about that stuff. But yeah, other things, not so much, and there's, certainly realms where I'm like, if everything has had a natural explanation to it thus far, then it seems unreasonable that we would then say, oh, but this is not that. This is something else. This is something novel. And I'm like, really? Yeah. How do you know that? How would you've discovered something completely new? That's cool, but then that would be testable. It would be something it would be world changing, wouldn't it? And when they say things, that just that sort of, well, of course it can't be. It has to be this. It's like, how do you know that?
Yeah, I get, when I debate with theists, mostly Christians, because that's the
that's who, right? Yeah.
I mean, the things that they say they know and they don't know is astonishing. It's like, I really don't think they're being honest with themselves, at all.
Well, yeah, and the guy I just covered lately, he made this statement that all scientists agree that the universe had a beginning. Really? All of them? Yeah, apparently they all do. Okay. Yeah. Can you give me an example of that? And then, of course, in the comments, he's like, oh, well, I just meant this. I'm like, that's not what you said. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on now.
I feel like as an atheist trying to be truthful, I actually am trying the best I can to analyze what I'm saying or my own thoughts. And I feel that they're being dishonest. They're not even analyzing their own thoughts. It's like, it's just this, I'm going to stick to this belief no matter what. Yeah. So I just, it's very strange because I really do want, if I don't know something, I'm going to say I don't know it. I don't feel embarrassed by that. I
Yeah,
don't feel
that's
offended.
fine. I mean, that's why we specialize in things. We get really specific with the thing that we're, that we're going to learn, and we learn that one little thing, and we let some other human deal with their thing. And so it's like, I know all the things about that one little thing, but you ask me something, it's like, I don't know anything about that. That's his job or her job. That's not my job. I always heard it in the military. I would hear, it's above my pay grade. That was the classic saying.
And it's why academia, mostly you'll see people specialize. They get their PhD in a subject, right?
Right.
And they write their thesis about something, not everything.
Right. Yeah. And it's like a jack of all trades. You know everything, but you're not good at any of it, or something like that. It's like, I mean, I don't know that anyone could know everything or even half of everything, or what it would even look like to know. You can know a lot of stuff, but we specialize. That's what humans tend to do. But I try to warn myself and others in my writings. We're as susceptible as anyone else to beliefs and ideas and team. I'm on team A, you're on team B, and especially with politics stuff, I don't even try to talk about every time I ever try to say anything about politics. I don't know anything about politics. I'm apolitical. It's the only stance I can take anymore. I'm like, I don't know anything, but I hear people say things like, all the blank is evil. Everybody that's on this side is racist. And I'm like, oh, really? Wow, that's amazing. How, it's a grand sweeping statement, let's maybe pull that back just a bit, and this one person said, nobody that was with certain letters, let's say, nobody on that side could be reasoned with. I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? And they were like, well, because they haven't realized they're wrong. Oh, I'm like, so they have to agree with you to be reasonable. Okay. That doesn't, let's try to put some logic in that. So since you do talk a little bit about politics on your channel, that's why I had to bring it up. So how do you inject, because I don't know how to do it, how do you inject reason into something like that seems like it's immune to reason almost, that at least from my perspective, it's like I can't do it because I don't know anything about politics. So how do you inject reason into that?
Well, by becoming more rational in my thinking after leaving religion, after deciding that I, was wrong on so many things that I believed for so many years, and actually built a life upon, it's a crushing thing to realize, wow, I was building my whole life and identity on something that was false. All right. I became more critical in my thinking, and my politics changed. And I try to apply the same thing into politics. That's all. I mean, I try to look at political issues as far as what is true, what is not true, and I break it down like I do religion, really. And I personally went from being conservative, very conservative sided, to being a progressive. And essentially it was the same process. And I'm not, overly political, but I think that, there's been so many things that are obviously misinformation. And I see a lot of it as just obvious lies that politicians are telling the American people.
Yeah. But I mean, what's new, right? If a politician's talking, they're probably lying, right? Yeah, it's just sort of George Carlin, when now he was of course being funny, but also maybe saying what he thought was true. He's like, I don't even vote. You can't blame me for any of this. I don't know that my vote matters. Does my vote matter? And that's something I've struggled with trying to understand. What little tiny difference do I make in that process? Can you convince me that my vote matters? I don't know if you're that deep into it or not. But.
Well, I think it matters, but I don't think it matters that much.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's like
it matters a little bit.
It matters a very, very, very little bit. Right. But it's I know my entire state's going to go one way, and I know the Electoral College, and I don't know why we still have that, since it's like it doesn't matter what I vote for. It's a drop in the bucket. It's like but it does. So how much can I quantify how much it matters even? Or is that too abstract? Am I overanalyzing it? I don't know. Help me out.
Well, I'll tell you my own thoughts. All right.
Okay.
Obviously, one vote is not really going to separate or change an election. So we understand that.
Yeah.
So that's why I say a very little bit.
Right.
Yeah. But I think this is where I'm at now. All right. I think influence does matter. More than one single vote. So let's say you're on a political side. I mean, your one vote isn't that meaningful. But if you're out here like you are, on YouTube, and people are listening and they might change their vote, well, now your vote became 2 votes, right? And then 3 and 4. And, it's like, it seems like Trump was elected a lot on these bro podcasts. They're saying that had a major influence. He went on these specific podcasts that were real popular, like Rogan, like the Theo Von, or these. They call them bro podcasts, right?
Yeah.
I guess they're supposed to be macho, and
Yeah, and the opposition. I don't know too much about it. It seems like the opposition didn't really do that. They did. Harris specifically didn't. Maybe she didn't have time to do it, or the desire. I don't know, but she didn't do that. I don't know if she did it a little bit, and I don't know about it because I'm not in that world.
She did a little bit, but it didn't.
Not enough. Huh?
The analysis after the fact seems to say that it just didn't have much impact.
Yeah,
but it does suggest that Trump's appearances on these, more right-wing, macho-type, manly podcasts seems to have made a difference.
Yeah, because I mean, if you seem like you're the everyday man or woman, then you're going to get the votes. So I'm thinking that the next person has to be somebody that's very much in the YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever, Facebook sphere. But they'll have money, because you have to have money to run.
You gotta have millions of dollars.
Yeah, or you have to have somebody that's going to give you lots of money, which is unfortunate. But then again, maybe not, because popular big YouTubers do have big numbers, but that doesn't always translate to, even if you have like 1 million followers, that unless they're all in America, it's not going to get you necessarily elected in America. So, Aaron Raw, I remember, tried his hand in politics, but he has a lot of followers, but you're confining the Venn diagram to people that follow you that happen to be in your state and agree with your politics and watch you. So that's a smaller subset of a subset, and then of course being an open atheist, that's going to make it even harder, so it just didn't translate into a win. And I think Sargon of Akkad also, he ran for whatever the thing is in British thing that he had. He has a lot of followers, but it didn't translate into a win for him either, again, because the Venn diagram just isn't there for that. But somebody really big, I don't know, PewDiePie, I don't know, something like that, maybe that somebody that big could have such an impact that they would could get elected without campaign funding or very much of it or something. I don't know, but you and I, if I ran, there's no way I wouldn't be. They wouldn't even interview me.
No, I mean, just to get on a ballot is a struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you just throw your name in the hat. You got to, even qualify to be on the ballot.
Yeah, the one guy, what's his name? I never can remember his name, but he wears a boot on his head. He's run for president like every single time. Venom Supreme or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't know him, no.
He's a funny guy. Venom Supreme. There he is. Here he is. I'll pull it up here. I know I'm supposed to stick on the religious topics, but sorry. This guy here.
That's okay. Doesn't all have to be religious.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's usually my thing, but I mean, you're into that, so on. Yeah, this guy, he runs every political election he's run since whenever, and his platform is that he'll give free ponies to everybody if he wins.
Yes,
and basically they consider him a joke.
Yes.
That he's doing it for a joke. He's doing it for, but I don't know if he wins, I get a free pony. So I'm very, he was actually interviewed, John, what's his name? Strozel. What's his face?
Stossel?
Stossel.
Yeah, John Stossel.
Yeah, that guy. He interviewed him once. So, I guess he got popular enough to be noticed by him, and it was kind of a funny interview. But other than that, it's like, okay, you're just running because you can,
it was. I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but when I was younger, a guy ran every 4 years as well. It was a comedian named Pat Paulson. He used to run all the time, but it was parody.
Yeah, and sometimes, and they'll every now and then the news will say that Mickey Mouse got a certain amount of votes or something like this. So people are, that's like a protest vote. Is that worthwhile doing? Is a protest vote? I mean, if Vernon Supreme got enough protest votes, I guess he would win. So, a true protest vote would be for somebody fictional because they can't win. Is there?
Here's my attempt at helping you to be a little bit politically motivated.
Okay, yeah.
Like I said, I definitely don't think a single vote is a big deal. But it's something. It's one millionth of a fraction. Within the voting system. But I think elections are won not at election time, but the years prior to that, where people's minds may have been changed, so it's like what we're doing now may impact 4 years from now.
Maybe. I hope. I mean, I just hope to impact, even one person, to think more critically, to learn informal logic. I would hope, that's my main thing is like, if people would just at least read a book on it, even if they don't absorb it, at least read it once, give it a shot, that would be worthwhile. That means I did something of value. What do you think about legacy at all? Do you worry about that? Do you think does that ever pop in your mind, or you're more kind of laid back because you're an older fellow than I am? So what do you think of legacy?
Personal legacy?
Yeah.
I mean, because I think legacy is a good thing to think about, right? For a person, like I think about my legacy, all right? I think of it in terms of the future. If I could do something today to somehow influence people in a positive way, then after I'm gone, I left something, right? Yeah. Obviously nothing concrete, nothing magical, but there could be so many more people that have just a little bit more happiness, maybe, And I think that's not a bad thing to think about.
Mm.
You know, I obviously, as an atheist, and I totally believe when I'm dead, I'm dead. You know, that's for sure. But you know, maybe something I did could go forward. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we don't get to decide that. It's one of those kind of like, yeah, once I mean, I don't know, who knows? Hopefully it'll be good. You know, the legend will begin when the story concludes. That's when the legend starts. So that will be somebody else's job to write. And hopefully they'll be kind to me. I don't know that they will be, but now I are getting close to wrapping up a bit here. I have to ask a silly, stupid question, and I know you've gotten this question before. What was it like working with the famous Stallone in the Rocky films? That's you, right? You're that guy, right?
I love that.
Yeah, let's just come on. We got to compare here. Let's check it out. Let's see. Here it is. Yeah, that's you. That's you. Come
There
on.
you go.
Okay, a little bit.
Hey.
Kind of a little bit look like him. It's just I had to have that pattern seeking of
Hey,
kind of look like that guy. You know?
Let me tell you a secret about my hat.
Yeah. The hat right? Does the work for you. That's what does it.
I have a hat on that was my dad's. He passed away a couple of years ago, and I just inherited his hat. And now that I'm trying to get out there a little more, it's like my little rest in peace to my dad.
Yeah, it's a moniker, and it's kind of your avatar, if you will.
Yeah, and then I mean, when you get into this YouTube thing, which is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Right? But they say, some of it is branding. So I'm like, well, maybe my hat is a branding.
Yeah, maybe, lean into it. Why not? I'm sure you'll, now that I've sparked that, if anyone else compares you to that, he's a good actor, so it's a good movie. So I mean, there's worse things to be compared to, right? But that was my little bit of silliness there. I do, and hopefully that did. You seem to take it well, so that's good. There are no questions in chat because chat has been fairly quiet, and that's okay. But Lou, we can find you. Your channel's linked in the description, but do you want to yell out any other things that you've got out there that I didn't know about?
No, YouTube is, my first real project that I'm trying to do. All right. And again, I really take it serious as being something important. All right. And again, it's important to me to get the atheist message out there, to normalize it, to make it not so stigmatized. Because even though there's more atheists today than there was 15 years ago, it's still, the country is still dominated by, Christians. They still dominate our society. And I think it's real important that we do continue to put a message out that's just in contrast to what they're putting out. And I see like churches, they're well funded. These are multi-million-dollar operations, and they're brainwashing people every single week. And in order for us to grow as a country, I think we have to get the secular message out there. Where it becomes more accepted, more popular, because ultimately, things change when we can change them in a political realm, and the political realm is like a giant monster. It doesn't really change easily. So little by little, I think that we all who are on YouTube and in the atheist world.
Yeah. What is the atheist message? Because you mentioned that. So let's what is that?
I think the atheist message for me, and this is not this, I
Yeah.
don't speak for, atheists,
right.
we all have different
Right.
ideas, but for me, the atheist message is actually a positive one. It's not a negative one. To me, it's a positive one, because the hope that I have is that humans as a species can grow beyond religion, beyond this tribalism based on, what we may believe and other things, men, women, white, black, Spanish, if we can ever get beyond all that and actually work together, all right, and do it with a methodology towards helping humanity as a whole, I think that's very important. So that's something that I have as a big thing. I want to help humanity as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, if we hypothetically, we could harness the sun to become an engine and push the entire solar system throughout the universe and seed humanity as we move the entire solar system like a big ship, and we could just seed humanity everywhere in the universe. And then as our sun starts to run out of oomph, we could find another solar system. And of course, the humans that we seed will continue to evolve on those planets and be very different than us, but we'll still be out there. There will still be things out there like us, that started from us at any rate. And that would be, maybe they'll figure out entropy and stop entropy, for all we know. That would be amazing. And that's possible. Like it's out there. It would cost, maybe we'd have to eliminate the idea of money, because it would cost trillion. The whole world would have to work together to do it, because it would cost so much resources and energy and time. You're talking about centuries of work just to get because you'd have to have like this kind of like a mirror it's not a mirror exactly, but that's the closest I can get. Like the cups around the sun to turn it into like an engine that would push the whole solar system. And it's like, that's cool. Let's do that. Sign me up for that world. That's what I want. I don't, and maybe we're getting a glimmer with like, okay, we're gonna get to Mars. Maybe we'll put somebody on Mars. I'm like, it's so like far away from anything epic like that. But I would hope that we could or will get there. But people have to love science and not fear it. People have to want to learn logic and math and all the things that we'd have to know and cooperate and man, we're far away from it, but
wouldn't it be a much better world?
It would be. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the big picture.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's not, and I'm not naive to think that's easy or probably never going to happen in my lifetime.
Oh yeah. Somebody else will have to do it, but hopefully we'll get there.
You know the song "Imagine"?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a world without religion, because to me, religion seriously is a negative. I mean, it's ancient, it's mythological. It leads you to believe in the ridiculous. Right.
Yeah. Maybe if we have to have a religion, it will be based on that humans or life matters and that we can do something amazing with it, like seed the universe or something. Because what else are we going to do? On a grand scheme, if we really want to remain as a thing that matters, we have to make ourselves matter.
And in the atheist community or the free thinking world, I think we just gotta keep talking, let our voices be heard. That's was my inspiration for 2025. I mean, well, I know, I can't change the world by myself. I mean, obviously, but if we do combine everyone's efforts, we could little by little change the way people think a little bit.
Yeah.
And that could change the way our society functions, you know?
I agree.
That's the big picture. And atheism to me is a definite positive. You know, I definitely take it as a positive, not a negative, you know?
Well, Brooklyn and Lou, you certainly have impacted me, and I think you've impacted some other people as well today. And I thank you for your time and your energy. And I'll leave you with the final word, and I'll hit the button.
All right. Well, anyone who watches this and wants to subscribe to my channel, it's Brooklyn Lou the Skeptic, and I certainly invite you. Even if you're Christian, you can come on by. but you atheist thinkers, come on by, and let's work together. So appreciate it. And Deconverted Man, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.